They need to switch me on. Little tweet every now and again. Good afternoon, everybody. Judging by all the nattering, you got to know each other over lunch, which I hope was tasty. This is otherwise known as the graveyard slot, so I reckon that's why they have an interactive session. So this is where we present the feedback from all the workshops, all 4 workshops, and we get you to vote. So if you were in Dublin last year, you'd remember these 3 cards, which were kindly supplied yet again this year, because I'm sure you all left them at home. So each workshop leader will present what they went through in the workshop, and then they will put up a series of statements. Hopefully some of them will be nice and provocative and controversial, so we won't have green all the time. But if you agree with the statements, you put up your green card. If you disagree, you put up the red card. And if you're kind of sitting on the fence, say you're unsure, you put this up. So we don't want to see too many of these, okay? See lots of these so we can get some interaction. So you have to pay close attention, because I'm going to pick on somebody as well to ask why they voted a certain way. So that's just to keep you all busy. But we're going to go straight into the feedback, because there isn't a huge amount of time, and we've got 4 workshops to deliver. A very, very busy day already. So we're going to go straight into workshop number 1, which is Giovanni. Giovanni Lamura is a social gerontologist, and he's from the Italian National Institute of Health and Science on Aging. So basically, Giovanni, you're going to talk to us about your workshop, which was identifying ways that support could be made more available to everybody with RMDs. So Giovanni, do you want to take us through your feedback? Over at the lectern, yeah. And then get into your controversial statements.
Thank you. Yes, thank you very much. Yes, we had an interesting discussion in our workshop, and we had to deal with the issue of informal carers, and specifically we tried to discuss in the 3 breakout groups about the support needs of informal carers, and then aimed at developing some elements of a campaign that could be developed by national organizations in this area. And we had a lively discussion, both within the groups and then in a plenary of all the workshop participants. It is a multidimensional effort, that of supporting informal carers. And so we were challenged by reflections concerning psychological aspects, financial aspects, but also the challenges that a society has in terms of developing appropriate supports. And so it is not only a matter of training and education, but also a matter of recognition of rights and of formulating appropriate benefits. So to make a long story short, I think we tried to formulate into three sentences our core messages to the plenary for you to vote. And these are listed here, and I was told that in this exercise, in order also to make the discussion possible, our messages should be proposed also in a form which allows a discussion to take place. So the first one concerns this issue all patient organizations should provide education, psychological, and peer support to informal carers. Now,
Okay, so now we vote. If you agree with that statement, stick up the old green. It's kind of like a motherhood statement to start with off. Anybody disagree? Oh, we see some red cards down the back. Just like yesterday's football game, Gert, there should be a few more red cards there. Sorry to bring that up. The red of Liverpool. Okay, that's the last time I'm ever going to bring it up. Would anybody down the back with the red card like to explain why they perhaps voted that way? No? Yeah, just give your thoughts on...
Hello. I thought that there are going to be more red cards, so it's not red and more orange from my part, because I'm thinking more. Ideally, of course, patient organizations should provide this kind of education and so on, but I think that we're right now in the stage where patient organizations have a lot of things to do in their scope, and this kind of thing, education for people, should be done by other parties or other stakeholders rather than patient organizations. Support this education and so on, of course, but not be the leading party in this process, in my opinion.
Okay, that's a fair statement, yeah. I think we'll probably explore that a little bit later on in the panel. So do you want to read out your second statement and third?
yes. Carers should take time for themselves, no matter what.
Do what you're told, carers. You're just being provocative now. And then, okay, that's overwhelming. Everybody, bar one or two, disagree with that. So the last statement then?
You don't want any comments from the...
No, I don't think I'll just pick one or two.
All right.
Yeah. I mean, he's only playing with me anyway, so.
So, all financial support for carers' needs should come from the state.
Now, I expect there's a lot of color on this one, something that resembles the Italian flag, I'd say. Yeah. I think we'll probably explore that a little bit more in the panel as well, because that's a nice controversial statement that we like around here. Okay, thank you, Giovanni.
Thank you.
Okay, now our second workshop leader needs absolutely no introduction whatsoever, because he's been introduced about 3 times already today. It's our president, and he's also a clinician as well. So a really, really interesting area, online tools, and something that's showing quite a pace around Europe as well, and I look forward to.
Yeah, we had an excellent group, and everyone was, I would think, very enthusiastic. And first of all, we ask, does everyone have a smartphone? Everyone has a computer. Of course, in our group, they had. There were even only 2 people who had not signed up to Facebook, including myself. And I think Dieter, right? Everyone else had. But we agreed that this is the medium to go forward. Everyone was very excited to use the internet, and also probably we had quite a few colleagues who had generated apps, which I think are very important, because what people tell me who are savvy in this particular area, they say it will not be the computer in the end, it will be the smartphone or a tablet, because that's what most people will have. So we discussed, first of all, how to get access to it and how to set it up. So probably Eular could help, at least to give some ideas how to set up a smartphone, and also how to set up a webinar on YouTube, something like this, so that we have the prerequisites. I also addressed, because I once made a mistake. We had a World Arthritis Day, and I gave a presentation, and I said everyone should have an internet access. I put forward the example of my mother-in-law, who's 84 years old, is Skyping with my daughter in Idaho, in the United States, without any problems. But then quite a few patients said, well, but this is so expensive. And then I made the mistake and said it's only 20 euros. And many patients said, 20 euros to me is already a lot of money. So we'll have to deal with this issue, because I firmly believe that every patient with a rheumatic disease needs access to the internet, either via smartphone, tablet, or regular PC. So that was addressed. And then we addressed what were the most pertinent needs. And first of all, many participants said, well, if I have the disease for the first time and I have the diagnosis, I would like to go to the internet, to a trusted site that informs me about the disease and that also gives me optimistic information, because what you do not need is pessimistic, that it's a dangerous disease, that you have all kinds of side effects from treatment. That is not very helpful, because, and I know this from my daily practice, you need to raise optimism. So that was something we discussed. We discussed capacity building, which was very important, and a couple of few more items which I cannot discuss now. But we all felt that this is the way to go forward. And from the Eular side, I would invite any ideas that you have, even if they sound very crazy, and because we want to be very innovative. So now let's go to the statement. Training skills and knowledge. We discussed time management, which is very important because some people may have an hour time, some 3 hours. Professionalism in advocacy, sharing best practice, and potentially certification, so that you have some certification that you really can do this properly. Workshop with regard to medical information, basic info, I already addressed this. Positive approach, understandable, available on the internet via smartphone, computer, or tablet PC, and of course to teach where to find the information. That is very important, because sometimes you come up with 100 entries, but what is the appropriate information that needs to be identified? Finally, capacity building, how to use social media. Working with and having qualified volunteers obviously is very important. Empower patients for self-management. Challenges are there: language, time, support, also financial issues. And I raised the question in my group, and I think that is also relates to the last statement, is would you agree that, and this is not on the list, that if pharmaceutical companies gave us, Eular, unconditional grants, nothing attached to their particular drug, but just to the disease, and we get some money to support volunteers, translation, technical equipment, would you be in favor of it, or would you say, no, no way, we don't want to get involved with pharmaceutical industry at all? So maybe I can have an informal vote. Who would say that, yes, if it's completely unconditional, if it's not related to the particular drug, I would be in favor to support that. So I see just one. No, not. So it's all green cards. Thank you very much. So that is important information to take home for Eular, and we will discuss that. Okay, now let's go into the statements. The first statement, again, is not listed here. Please vote with a statement that Bayern München will be the next winner of the Champions League. Who is in favor? Wow. I can't believe it. They're all red cards. And they come from Britain. I can't believe this. What about Spain? Right. All right. No, that was just a joke. So, so I think we deserve it, since yesterday we just lost against Liverpool. But luckily against the German coach, so it's not so. So there's some consolation in it, I must say. All right, but not all joking apart. So 3 statements. Volunteer work must be professionalized. Do you agree or not? Or are you neutral? Okay, so I see some neutral, some red cards, quite a few actually, and the majority still is green. Would you agree, John? Yeah. So we want to discuss it? Yeah?
Can I make a small comment on that? I don't think that, well, that's my personal opinion, that voluntary work should be professionalized, but would be supported in a professional way.
Yeah, that's a good statement. Yeah, exactly. So you don't have to be a professional volunteer, but you have to need support in order to do that the best. Okay, so we should phrase the question again, or? Okay, with these notions, please vote again. Support to be more professional. And this is now unanimous. Okay.
It's all about
Very good
semantics.
statement. So Nele, you have to become a politician. So that is perfect. Medical information must be approached positively, be understandable, and be available on the internet. Who's in favor? Abstains? That's much easier than Bayern München, apparently. So everyone is in favor.
Yeah, everybody's in
And-
favor, even though it's available on the internet, medical information. That's interesting. So, okay.
Yeah, we
I
would
thought
say
we might
probably
get a bit- I thought
good,
we might get a little
positive,
Liverpool there.
trusted medical
Yeah,
information.
okay.
That's what we mean. And finally, Eular should be teaching organizations to use social media effectively. All right, so there are some neutral
Okay.
votes. Oh,
Okay,
Nele,
Nelly.
what did we do wrong? You want to comment again?
Well, why don't you tweet him? Why don't you tweet him?
Well, I don't really think that that specific social media thing is a task for Eular. I think you can learn it in many different settings and on a national level. I think Eular has more important tasks than learning us how to use Facebook and Twitter.
Yeah, okay. But apparently you're in the minority. I think you were the only red card holder, but that's fine. No, but we
That's
will.
my career.
So when I go back to the steering committee, I will say everyone was in favor, but you were not. But since you're going to be a member of the executive committee, so we're going to have some questions, especially with Emunet. So they're going to be interesting.
So, Gerd, when you say Eular, you mean Pare as well, don't you?
Of course, of course. Pare is part of
plays a big
Eular.
role in
Oh, of course. Pare is
teaching.
part of Eular. Yeah.
Just to
yeah.
stretch the meaning a little
Yeah, yeah.
bit. You know.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Gerd. So, next up we have Yvonne van Eyck-Hustings, I hope I pronounced that correctly, who's a rheumatology nurse in Maastricht University Medical Center. So, how did you get on, Yvonne?
Okay, thank you very much. Well, in our group, we first told people something about recently developed points to consider for reporting, screening, and preventing comorbidities. And we also informed the group about the checklist that has been developed in that project, which was the thing that we really discussed in the subgroups. We had interesting discussions with a lot of people from various countries, so that was very nice. What we first, and I'm going to show you it very shortly, I hope you can see it. It shows a little bit the complexity of, the complexity of the checklist, which really is about 6 different comorbidities. This is an example about cardiovascular risk. And there are 93 items to be checked in a checklist. So just to show how complex it is. Well, finally, that was the discussion that was going on, that the wording of the list is really, really very complex, and that we definitely need lay versions. The question is a little bit who is going to develop that, and we were sure that it should be developed closely by collaboration between health professionals and patients in a jointly effort, and that communication about comorbidities is really very important and also very delicate, and that patient education is really important, but that how to do that is an issue to address. We felt that the tool could be helpful for the patient education. Let's see. And with regard to screening for comorbidities, we are still not 100% sure who is responsible. So that is the content of our workshop. And now I come to our statements. the first statement, and you can agree or disagree. Patients do have the right not to know their risk of comorbidities. Please give your votes. Mixed. A mixed.
Nice little, in fact, it's all the reds on this side
Yeah,
and the greens on
that's-
this side. How did you work that one out before lunch?
Yeah. It's interesting.
Can
Makes
I
it
just
easier to
call
discuss.
on, yeah, I know I ignored you the last time, but you put up your red card. Is there any thoughts you have on that?
Thank you at first for your comment on the first non-vote, but I think that is not a thing about a right, but it's more about the complexity of their disease. And I think when you tell them on a normal way, you can give them the good information. So I think that everybody needs to know that their illness has a comorbidity issue. And I think that's also a good thing for saving money and saving quality of life. That's my main point.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, next. Our next statement is, in my country, health professionals are not interested in screening for comorbidities. Do you agree or do you disagree? Disagree.
Wow. That totally stuns me, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Would anybody like to offer? Oh, we got the young Pare crew, so I'm going to pick on some of them. Wendy, or Linda, one of the form an answer between the two of you. Why is that your perception in your country? You can do a duet if you like.
So your question is if it's...
Well, you voted you voted against that statement, so
Yes.
They're not interested.
So they are interested.
So you disagreed. Sorry, I beg your pardon. I've got it mixed up.
Yes, I think in the Netherlands they are interested and they do a good job in screening.
Okay, but there were quite a few greens there as well. Sorry, I wasn't paying attention to my own question there for a minute. Any greens like to expand upon that? Because, we have somebody there in the back. Would you like to just give your name and country so that we know where to go next?
My name is Snezhana from Bulgaria, and I voted with Green because we don't have such a good and explicit health professionals. That's why they can't be so interested in screening, because we don't have rheumatology nurses. We have nurses, but they are not specifically educated as rheumatology nurses. So we are in shortage of such health professionals who can do that screening. That's why I
that's a very important point here.
Okay. Next one. And our last statement. Specialized nurses should support patients in the screening and reporting of comorbidities. Who agrees or disagrees?
Okay. I noticed some people aren't voting. Have they not got cards? Or anyway, that was overwhelming.
Yeah.
Yes, agree.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Okay, our final workshop was delivered by Simon Stones. Now, Simon, apart from picking me up in his taxi at the airport yesterday very kindly, is doing a BSc in Biomedical Sciences in Manchester University. They also wear red, but they're not as good as Liverpool, apparently.
Thank you. We had a really interesting workshop, and one of the first Young Pare workshops that has been led from the start by young people with RMDs. So we had some really interesting discussions, and really we wanted to identify the barriers that organisations and individuals across Europe felt would prevent them from setting up a youth organisation or sustaining a youth organisation. And we prioritised the barriers that we came up with in the group, And then we split up into 3 different groups to look at solutions to those barriers. And we had a really nice case study as well from Sylvia in Italy to really emphasize through the knowledge transfer program how a youth group can be set up with support of other organizations in Europe, which is really important that we don't reinvent the wheel and we work together. And the 3 key challenges that we identified were the stigmatization associated with RMDs in young people, and that it's not just an old person's disease, and the fact that childhood onset RMDs are quite different to adult onset RMDs. The second was motivation. Why and how would we get young people to be involved, and what is in it for them? And we discussed the needs of individuals, which differs. We identified the educational needs for people to realise that they can get something out of being part of an organisation. And we looked at the use of social media, as well as face-to-face intervention support as well, because some people might have social anxiety, and the use of social media may help them to be more comfortable before we started in a face-to-face environment. And we highlighted the use of our new virtual knowledge centre, which is hosted by Young Pare, to act as a facilitator in helping to engage organisations across Europe to work together. And finally, it was finding and retaining young people. Finding young people to be part of the group is difficult enough, but to keep them engaged and keep them coming back to the meetings is really important. And we identified the need for a coordinator to really support that process, and really that a young person with direct experience of an RMD is really important in that process. So we've got 2 statements. So if you'd like to vote, so the number 1 is a youth group can be started and sustained by the youth only. Age is just a number, it's all about personality. Do you agree or disagree?
Well, that's an overwhelming yes, but typically Irish. Sinead has thrown in a red card, and I would really like her to explain herself.
Well, I just feel, as a young person living with an RMD, I've seen how difficult it is to get young people involved. In Ireland, we have 12 branches throughout the country of people helping other people with arthritis, and I've seen people won't get involved unless there's somebody in a similar boat in them because of the stigma, the fear, whatever section of, emotion they're at with their own disease. They can't relate to somebody who's not in the same boat, who's of the same age group of them. And that's just my personal opinion, from what I found.
Well, I suppose that's the reason for setting up a group in the first place, isn't it? Okay, we have another comment at the back. Can you just give your name and country as well, please?
I'm Ella Vine. I'm a board member of European Network of Fibromyalgia Associations and Chief Executive of Fibromyalgia Action UK. I voted this colour because I think that if we say that a youth group can be set up and sustained by youth only, I think we're cutting off quite a lot, because what I truly believe is that anyone should be helping and campaigning for the issues that we care about. This is example of the youth group for RMDs, for example. So even if somebody that is not young or does not have RMD can still be the voice, and if we want to achieve a change, we need anyone to be involved, everyone to help, because if we only have the voiceless and the weak campaigning, it's very difficult to achieve a change. And I think everyone needs to be involved without the feeling of, oh, I don't belong to the group because I'm not young.
That's a very good point, yeah. And does come up from country to country, I think.
And our second statement is disclosure is a bigger problem for children and young adults than it is for older people with RMDs. Do you agree or disagree?
Okay. Mixed bag there, Simon. Did you expect that?
Yes.
You did? Oh, you
Slightly,
sought
yeah.
a mixed bag. Diana, would you like to give your perspective on that?
I think disclosure is a problem at any age. If you're young, it has obviously problems with university, school, or whatever, interactions with other people. If you're older in an established job, it's a huge issue in case you may lose your job, you wouldn't be able to pay your mortgage, you support your family. So I think disclosure is a really big issue for everybody.
I would tend to agree if I was voting. If I was allowed to vote. Okay.
Thank you.
Simon, thank you very much for that. Okay, just in the interest of time, I mean, I kind of half thought about asking everybody a separate question, but there was quite a theme coming through all that. And the theme, well, one of the themes coming through the workshop feedbacks was, you know, the roles patient organizations play and the role and responsibility of Eular. And this comes up every single year. Is it Eular's job? Is it the patient organization's job? Is it the patient's job? Whose job is it? And when we talk about the responsibilities of informal care, we talk about social media. I'd like to just throw it to the panel about, you know, and maybe so you mentioned this, Gerd, and this is the unique thing about Eular. It has 3 key stakeholders all working together. But in some ways, maybe that puts significant pressure on the organization to do all things for all man.
That is certainly true, because it adds to the complexity and just to the labor. I mean, it's a much more amount of labor for all those involved. Nevertheless, I think we can only advance the field of R&Ds if we all jointly work together. I think we have listened to our Bulgarian colleague, and he made this very clear. I think this is a prime lesson that I take away from this conference as well. And so in order to accommodate this, we will launch the School of Rheumatology, where we have one roof, one big school for everyone, but with separate classrooms. And so that every group is able to fill the classroom with the needs that they have identified. So they're basically completely free what they put in, as we discussed in our group, the contents and what they like most, and there will be certain priorities. But with this classroom concept, I think we will advance the interaction tremendously. Obviously, there will be leaks between classrooms, and we will already discussing how to best accommodate this, because it needs close interaction. But I think this will be hopefully a very good start in a completely new era of information management. And I think we are there already. I think the internet, the online information will change our medical profession tremendously in a way that we don't even envision yet. So with cross-border care, with cross-border consulting and so on, information. And so I think Eular hopefully is at the forefront to really see all these challenges and to meet them, hopefully.
Yeah, I agree with you. Giovanni, have you any thoughts on that? Because I think your last statement there about like financial support and who should offer it, I left that for the panel because I think that was quite a controversial statement which we were looking for. And, you know, patient organizations do come under an awful lot of pressure to produce and finance services.
My thought on that is that the situation is very different from country to country. So I know areas where sources come from different providers. The state, but also non-profit organizations are very good at raising funds through private foundations. So that's my thought. I mean, I would dare to suggest, look around yourself and see about potential sources of funding and go to them, because you might find positive surprise sometimes.
Okay. Yvonne? Certainly in the area of comorbidities and what role a patient organization can play in educating.
Yeah, that's true. And I must say that finally, in the end, a lot of things came up in the different workshops, apparently. So what we talked about the jointly responsibility of health professionals and patient organizations. That's really important, and I think the discussion should not be who is responsible, because I think it's a joint responsibility. But in the end, when it is about achieving things, you need facilitation of developments, and sometimes it is with money, and sometimes it is with a kind of vision or strategy. I think that's the major point.
Okay, thanks, Yvonne. Simon, have you thoughts on, I mean, particularly with regard to youth and young Pare? Do young Pare feel supported within?
I think young Pare have grown enormously over the last 12 months, and to a point where we feel really integrated in Pare as well as Eular, so that we can better represent the voice of young people. And in terms of whose responsibility it is to educate people, it's everyone's role. People with conditions, family members, health professionals and industry. But at the same time, we cannot force that education onto people. If people are in denial, with as much will in the world, you cannot drill that into people. So it's having the opportunity for that information to be there and accessible for people to access.
Okay, well said. Okay, can I just, on your behalf, thank the 4 leaders, the workshop leaders. It takes an awful lot of time and effort and preparation and personal time as well to do that. And also thank you for the interactivity, a little bit of fun as well on it, which has to happen. So you were great. I was hoping that you would interact, and you certainly did. So can I ask everybody to give a round of applause for the 4 leaders? Now, I think we're doing pretty well on time, Esme. I got you around to about 3 o'clock. So then the next, I mean, Gert, you said this is a packed agenda. By God, it's pretty busy, isn't it? With a very early start. So I know some people are feeling tired. I think the next hour is important as well, because it'll get you on your feet, get hopefully a little bit of fresh air. But you must visit the best practice fair. So we have 3 rooms set up. One is with people with RMDs, the other is for the general public, and others for policy makers. So you can see where the rooms are, and I'd encourage you to visit all 3 and have 1 vote within each room. So the whole idea is that whoever receives the most votes gets to spend a bit of time up here presenting. So we need you back here. We need you back here by 4:15, so that's 16:15. So you've got an hour and 15 minutes. Thank you very much.
Razmišljao sam o tome da vidimo da li će nam uopće trebati. Ako jako duboko možda nam neće ni trebati. Pričekat ćemo s tih sekundi.
Stavi slušalice u uši odmah. Ti si u drilu, ti namještavaš ton. Ti namještavaš ton. Stavi slušalice u uši. Ti si u drilu, ti namještavaš ton. Ti si taj koji si u drilu, ti namještavaš ton.
Darko, pričaj. Darko, trebamo audio test, Darko. Trebamo audio test.
Ti namještavaš ton da nam se ne poklope frekvencije, tebi da se ne poklope frekvencije. I tebi se ne poklapaju frekvencije. I ti si... Tebi je poklopljena frekvencija. Tebi je poklopljena frekvencija. Tebi je poklopljena. Šta? Možda negdje tamo.
A šta je sa ovim? Ne čuje se na slušalice. Zašto ne čuje slušalice? Nešto je mutirao kad nam je pokazivao play, play out, kad se pokazivao, onda si isto to ne moraš sve ponoviti. Mimetić, to je pola. Dobro, se može naći da se ne, aha.
Koja vrata?
U desni skroz, prozor tam. Nek ti pričaj. On dosta glasno priča, pa onda.
Ti si taj koji pečeš strude na HŽ-u. Tvoje djevojke rade pekmez na radnom mjestu. Oni imaju te velike
Aj ti se tamo.
Pojma pekmez, šljiva, pravi domaći, od drenka pekmez, cure na Kosovu. I sad si u Max TV i traži sam kabel koji iz iPhone-a gajde, sigurno kad mi muke žilu od ovdje, sve živo gleda.
desni skroz.
I da su oni čiko desno, da se može da ode.
To ćemo krenuti tražiti.
A ko dolazi?
Ma ne smeta, to je super, malo motiona izgleda aktivno. Meni to je super, ne vidi se faca. Što je bitno.
Niste vidjeli kako je snimio onaj sjeća života?
Tebi ovo smeta?
Na velesajmu.
No. Ajde, ajmo skup. Sam stol.
Ne, pa pomakni fotoaparat.
Jesam, pokušao sam onda se ovo... Što se otvara?
Neđe.
Tako.
Samo vagicu još. Znači, sad idete u našu...
Sad on sam se treba pomaknuti malo u... Smeta, no.
Ispusti se, ja sam ti pričao na ovo.
Znači,
I se vraćamo.
da, sam kad bi... Ovo više nije sad spaljeno, za početak sigurno. Ali ti na kraju kraja možete i u Photoshopu.
Ne mogu se neko reći. Ako se niko ne
Ja
reći,
makni
onda...
kameru ili...
Da ne, super, neko se vas.
Da, dobro.
Biće dobro da što nema. Jedno što izlaze ove zrake. Kad on sjedne možemo još malo.
A kako si uspio onaj zastor srednji na klijepu? Šta samo
Ima više tkanine.
A jel možemo onda iza njegove glave staviti taj zastor? Ovaj,
Tu,
ne prozir.
tu. Ajde, pričaj.
Znači srednji zastor da ode na lijevu stranu. A onda mu iz glave neće zraka izlaziti.
Misliš neće? To je donji, onaj ispod njega. Layer ispod, taj.
Bravo. Ja, što to nema
Toga nema
treći.
desno.
Aha. Moraš
Do kraja, vidi se ova skroz lijevo. Tako. Ispod, ovaj je bitan ispod.
Daj mi da stavim ruku. Ćemo se otvoriti vrata da čujemo zveckanje, bar malo srednje.
Ajde, tvoj.
So I'm asking you a question.
Yeah. Okay.
Quickly. This is the video
Can you
to...
please just... The...
Sure.
Do you remember the postgraduate course video?
Yeah.
So we want to do something similar.
Okay.
So your part is to talk about why Eular is supporting the Pare conference, why it's important that patient representatives are educated, what opportunities do you see to further enhance the collaboration between patient organizations and health professionals?
And health professionals, including physicians or just all of them? So including physicians.
Pogledaj zato. Desno stojesno, moraš srednji desno.
And you ask them one by one?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. We need to begin.
Chris. No lengthy.
And I think the most important thing is the support between collaboration.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Pare is an
Zašto
that is important, but they're not outside.
Yeah.
Very important for both sides.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the other interviews are going to be for example, for Christiana, Simon Stones.
Yep.
Samo. A ja ću ovo
To promote the
Sure.
Just a little.
Okay. Now we can sit. Now we can sit, please.
Can I see?
Of course. And that's good.
Neće šuškati o...
Can we...
Ne diruje odjeću.
Yeah.
A?
Kabel će biti na zavezu. Oni su tako razbacani, se može zavesti.
Ništa ne možeš se dobiti. Znači, mogu se samo igrati i dobiti vrlo slično. Probao sam, vidio sam, gledao sam koliko leda ne
Znači se zabode se na... You start in a few moments.
Thank you so much. With you as well.
Under this time when